Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea podcast, the final episode that this will actually be called the John Campea podcast here on my YouTube channel. Thanks a lot for joining me today, guys. I am, of course, your host, John Campea. Thank you so much for joining me. And you can't tell, but today I'm using kind of a different system, so please feel free, jump in the chat board there and let me know if anything is going wrong. Please let me know if anything is going wrong because, like I said, I'm doing an entirely new system here. Everything might look the same, but I'm actually trying a brand new system here to try to make this work out. Anyway, guys, I am, as always, humbled and honored that you would make me a part of your weekend. Of course, it's Sunday, got a lot of NFL football to get to in a little bit. Yeah, I'm a bit of a sports fanatic here myself. And hey, listen, guys, I'm going to let you know, too. Here's how today's show is going to go. I've got a whole list of questions here that I'm going to go through that you guys have sent in to me. How do you get a question to me? It's simple. Just email me anytime at thejohncampeapodcast@gmail.com. Email me at thejohncampeapodcast@gmail.com. But now I'm going to try something a little bit different today that I think will make my life a little bit easier. You know, when I do these shows live, I like to save a little bit of time at the end of the show to take some of your live questions. But it's always very awkward because it's very difficult for me to read the chat board while I'm doing, the show and trying to talk. What would make it a little bit easier for me, I'm going to try this today, is to take your questions via Twitter. So for those of you who are watching me live, send in live questions to me via Twitter. You can see my Twitter handle right here. It's simply @JohnCampea. That's my Twitter handle. So simply start your tweet with @JohnCampea and then put in your question. And I'm going to try pulling in your questions from Twitter there. It should make my life a little bit easier. So do me a favor, guys, for those of you who are here already live, and there's already a whole bunch of you here live, if you see other people asking questions who come in a little bit later, let them know, hey, you actually got to tweet in your questions. The chat board is for you guys to talk amongst yourselves, and I'll keep an eye on it as well. But then to send in your questions, try sending them to me on Twitter @JohnCampea, and that should make things just a little bit easier for everybody. Okay, with that out of the way, let's jump into the first question today. I really like the questions we got lined up today. All right, let's go to the first one. And the first question today comes to us from Simba Dibinga, who writes, I'm getting annoyed by all the people griping about how a Joker movie should be, or how a Supes movie should be, or how Batman should be, etc. Do you think when it comes to the DCEU, too many people have a set vision of their characters in their mind, and any perceived alterations hamper their ability to enjoy the film? Well, thank you so much for the question, Simba. And yes, absolutely, 100% yes. Now look, all film is subjective. I get that. And I have no gripes with anybody who dislike a movie that I like. I have no gripes with anybody that hates a movie I love. I have no gripes with anybody that loves a movie I hate. It's all cool. It's all subjective. It's great. But I do get frustrated sometimes by people who scapegoat or who find kind of what I think are illegitimate reasons to use as their scapegoat for not liking a movie. Look, if you don't like a movie, you don't need an excuse for not liking it. You're totally allowed to not like a movie for whatever reason whatsoever. That's the great thing about art, and that's the great thing about film. But yeah, I do get completely frustrated by these pseudo excuses. What really comes out when people explain to me why they didn't like a movie. And what it really comes down to, it's I didn't like the movie. Really, this isn't what the words they use, but when you look behind their words, this is what it really comes down to. Because they didn't make the movie I would have made. It's like, well, if that's the case, then the filmmakers are in a no-win situation. They're not here to make the film that you would have made. They're here to make their film. And you should watch their film and judge their film based on the film's merits, not compared to what you would have done. And if you watch the film and just based on its own merits, you didn't like it, that's totally cool. So some things that really bothered me, like for instance, the criticism of Man of Steel. A lot of times, Superman's supposed to be hopeful. Well, actually, if you watch the movie and pay attention, he was incredibly hopeful. He was just put into a series of unwinnable circumstances that made him challenge himself, the way he saw the world, and all that kind of things. The way Carell was portrayed in Man of Steel was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And I think if you even take Christopher Reeve's Superman and plop him in the same scenarios that this Superman was put in, he would have been pretty grim. I mean, just look at the original Superman movie when he finds Lois Lane dead. That ain't a happy-go-lucky Superman. He's screaming at the heaven in pain and darkness and whatever, and he does something he should never do. He changes the rotation of the earth to change time just so he can save the girl he loves. I mean, because that was the circumstance he was put into. This whole nonsense of people complaining about, well, Batman shouldn't kill people in Batman versus Superman. Oh, come on, do you want me to run down a menu of how many times Batman has killed people in the comics? It's not like it's only happened once or twice. It's happened a bunch of times. And besides, here's what my main gripe is about that, is that this, and I say this about Logan, I say this about the MCU films, I say this about the DCEU films. This isn't the comic book. This isn't the comic book. This is the movie. And guess what? In this movie universe, this Bruce Wayne, this Batman, never made a vow to never kill people. And it drives me crazy that these people hold Batman to these standards. Like, people will go, no, a hero shouldn't murder people. Bruce Wayne's going around murdering people. He never murdered anybody, okay? There are people who trying to kill him that he kills in self-defense. But you want me to run down a whole laundry list of other superhero movies that they do the exact same thing and nobody complains? I don't hear anybody going, heroes shouldn't kill people. Watch Captain America Civil War. Captain America Civil War, just in that opening action sequence, do you know how many people the Avengers kill? They kill a lot of people in that opening sequence. Now, if you want to have the discussion about should the movies adhere to certain things that are in the comics, we can have that discussion. But when we're sitting in front of the movie, take the movie on its own merits. In this movie universe, this Batman right here, what I contend, I think this is the greatest Batman incarnation we've ever had on screen, is this dude right here. In this movie universe, Batman never made that vow. That is not a part of this Batman. So don't judge this Batman. It drives me a little bit crazy. I don't believe we should judge this Batman based on standards that were never a part of the movie universe in the first place. So yes, it does drive me a little bit crazy when people judge movies. It's not just comic book movies either. It's not just the MCU or the DCEU or whatever. This is true about any type of movie, whether it's a novel that's been adapted to a movie or whatever. It does drive me crazy. And I'm probably guilty of it too. I think you've probably done this. I think I've probably done this. We're all guilty of this. But it does drive me crazy when we judge a film, instead of judging a film on its own merits, we judge a film based on what our preconceived notions were about what this movie should have been. Like I said, I think we all do it, and it does drive me crazy. And it's especially noticeable, I think, when you come to the DCEU or the MCU too. There have been a number of times like, well, wait a minute, Doctor Strange never did that in the comic book. This isn't the comic book. This is the movie. Enjoy the movie for what it is. And if you watch the movie for what it is and you don't like it, that's totally fair, totally fine. But don't judge it for rules that the movie never agreed to live by. That's my only thing. That's my big thing. Okay, anyway, that's just me riffing on that. Okay, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Charles Harkins. And Charles Harkins writes, hey, John, I listened to your comment on Emma Stone being in the top 3 A-list actresses in Hollywood. Is she past Hathaway, Lawrence, Adams, Blanchett, Winslett? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yeah, what this is coming from is on the show the other day, I made a quick point to mention that I had just watched Battle of the Sexes. And that's in theaters. It's in limited release right now. It's going to go wide release pretty soon. It's the movie that Emma Stone is in with Steve Carell about the great tennis match that happened back in the 70s between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. And of course, Emma Stone is playing Billie Jean King. Anyway, I made the observation that, you know, I've always liked Emma Stone. I've always thought she was a very good actress. And I'm a big fan. But when she won her Academy Award for La La Land, which she totally deserved, when she won her award for La La Land, there was a part of me that felt it was a little bit of a fluke. Like, she deserved the award, but it was a little bit of a fluke because it just so happened that she was just the right actress in just the right place at just the right time. Because remember, she wasn't even supposed to be in La La Land. Emma Watson was cast to be in La La Land, and then Emma Watson dropped out to go do Beauty and the Beast, which also worked out pretty good for her. Anyway, so I just thought it was a little bit of a fluke. Even though I've always liked Emma Stone, I think she's a great actress, and she deserved it for La La Land. I thought it was just because it was the perfect set of circumstances lining up. But she was the best that year. I went to go see Battle of the Sexes. I have changed my mind. That was no fluke. Emma, watching her play Billie Jean King, I'll go so far as to say this. I think she is better in Battle of the Sexes than she was in La La Land, which she won Best Actress of the Year at the Academy Awards for. I think she is better in this movie than that one. I have now come to the belief that she is not just an A-list, because there's probably about 20 actresses that we could consider A-list. I believe she is elite. And when I say elite, I meant top 3. Top 3. So the question coming in is, and I've had a lot of people tweet me this too and write to me on Facebook and email saying, well, wait a minute, okay, if you're saying she's top 3, who else is top 3? Like, is Adams top 3? Is, some of these other actresses you mentioned? And here I believe is top 3. Obviously, one I believe right now is top 3 is Emma Stone. And the scary thing is she only seems to be getting better. That's the scary part. Like, remember her in Birdman? Remember how good she was in Birdman? I mean, it seems like every movie she's in, whether the movie is good or bad, it seems like she's getting better and better and better and better. And that is scary because she's still crazy young and she's like dominating right now. But anyway, so who would I say are top 3? I would say Emma Stone is in the top 3. The next one I'm going to say is in the top 3 is not Adams, although I love Amy Adams. Is not Kate Winslett, although Kate Winslett is absolutely A-list, absolutely top 10, all that kind of stuff. I would say, first of all, I would go Cate Blanchett. Cate Blanchett is crazy, sick, talented, 7-time Academy Award nominee, 2-time, she's got 2 Oscars on her mantle. Guess what? She's going to have more eventually. She can play anything. I've seen her do comedy. we're going to see her in Thor coming up. I've seen her do straight drama. I've seen her do like a really emotional, really stoic. I've seen her do everything and she just kills it. And no matter what she does. So I myself would consider Cate Blanchett up there in that elite top 3. And then obviously up there, this is going to be no surprise to anybody, but is obviously the street monster. Meryl Streep is the best actress, maybe of all time. She may be the best actress of all time. Whether you're talking about Sophie's Choice or any of the other 20, let me repeat that, 20 movies that she's been nominated for an acting Oscar for. 20. That's unheard of. Will never be matched again. Nobody will ever equal that. That will never be matched, ever. 20 times she was considered one of the best that year and nominated for an Acting Academy Award. She's got 3 Acting Academy Awards on her mantle, and she's probably not done. She'll probably win another 1 or 2 at some point. So who would I consider to be the elite of the elite? I believe it's Meryl Streep. I believe it's Cate Blanchett. And I believe it's this girl right here, Emma Stone. And that's not casting shade. That's not me dissing or disrespecting any of those other amazing actresses, whether it's Octavia Spencer, whether it's Kate Winslet, whether it's Amy Adams. That is not me casting any shadow on any of those. They're all incredibly talented. We'll all have more Oscars on their mantles as well. They're incredible. But these are who I would consider to be the elite. I'm curious to know, who would you say are the elite of the elite? I want to know what you guys think. It's all subjective, of course. Just because I say these are the 3, that doesn't mean those are the 3. I'm just saying those are the 3 for me. I want to know who the 3 are for you. Jump into the comments section and let me know your thoughts. All right, let's move on now to the third question. And the third question today comes to us from Felix Moro. And Felix Moro writes, my question is, what do you think about the absence of Jacob Batalon, Ned, from Spider-Man Homecoming's posters? His role in the movie is bigger than Zendaya's, yet she is in the poster and he's not. Same with Laura Harrier's character, Liz. who is the romantic interest of the movie, while Zendaya's role is practically a cameo. Isn't it too much discrimination? Do you think the next movie will be more fair and have Batalon in its posters? Well, thanks a lot for the question, man. And, Jacob Batalon, first of all, or as my family on my wife's side would say, Batalon. My wife and my wife's family are Filipino. Jacob is Filipino. I swear, I thought Canadians were the worst for, if somebody's Canadian, you always hear me say, good Canadian boy, good Canadian girl. But Filipinos take it to a new level. If somebody is even remotely Filipino, they're the greatest. Whether it's Dave Bautista, whether it's Manny Pacquiao, whether it's Jacob Batalon. I mean, he's the greatest. But anyway, Jacob, where is the love for Jacob Batalon? This dude, I think he is one of the big reasons that Spider-Man Homecoming was as good as it was. He brought that element. He brought that dimension. Really, he brought the humor to the film, whereas other characters, Michael Keaton brought the more heaviness. You had, Peter Parker right down the middle. You had Ned, who's bringing more of the humor, and that's a really good illustration of the balance that came across the movie and why I like that movie so much. It's really, really good. And Jacob Batalon is one of the big reasons I think he's really good in it. So the question is, was it discrimination against Jacob Batalon to not have him in the posters? Well, first of all, when we say, how come Zendaya and Liz are in the posters and Jacob isn't? Well, which poster are you talking about? Are you talking about this poster? 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 Lots of Spider-Man Homecoming posters. Are you talking about this poster? Perhaps you're talking about this poster. Point is, almost none of the posters had any of those people you mentioned. There was one poster I saw, and that was this one. One poster I saw that had a small version of Liz, and Jon Favreau was down there, but Jon Favreau practically had almost as big of a role as Jacob did in the movie. So there's that poster. This one here. Okay, yes, that one. But I just ran through 6 or 7 other posters that are more familiar with that didn't have any of them in there anyway. So was Spider-Man Homecoming discriminating against Jacob Batalon? No, because 90% of the posters didn't have any of the other characters other than Spider-Man and Iron Man. And Vulture, obviously. But even if that wasn't the case, and I've said this before, I will say it again. Do I think they'll be more fair to Jacob by putting him in the posters next time? The posters are not about the actors. The posters are not about the actors. The actors are owed nothing about being in the marketing. The marketing is to market the movie. And the people marketing the movie will put into the marketing whatever they feel helps sell the film. They don't owe it to Jacob to put Jacob in the poster. They don't. I love Jacob. I'm a huge Jacob fan. But they do not owe it to Jacob to be in the poster. Now, considering how much everybody loved the Jacob character in Spider-Man Homecoming, I would suspect that in the next Spider-Man standalone film, you'll probably see Jacob in some more of the marketing because he was so loved in this particular movie. Was he better? Did he have a bigger role than Zendaya? Yes. Was he better than Zendaya? Yes. But she's the bigger name. Right? So they put her in one of the posters. Maybe there's a second one out there, but for most of the posters I saw for Spider-Man Homecoming, she wasn't in there anyway. But the bottom line is this. They do not owe it to Jacob to put him in the poster. The posters are not about being fair to our actors. No, the posters are about selling the movie. Now then you might be saying, well, John, you were complaining about how much, Channing Tatum is in all the Kingsman posters. And, aren't you contradicting yourself? No, because the reason I was complaining about Channing Tatum being in the posters was because that was misrepresenting the movie. When you put together marketing that misrepresents your movie, because if you look, every banner I saw of Kingsman: The Golden Circle had Channing Tatum in it. Every single one. Unless it was like a single character poster, every single banner I saw had Channing Tatum in it, and Channing Tatum's in the movie for 5 minutes. So I had a problem with that because it misrepresents the movie. When you put up posters like this, or this, or this, or this, it's not misrepresenting the movie. It's a Spider-Man movie. And even when you do something like this isn't misrepresenting the movie when you have a tiny image on one poster of a character who's not in there that much. So no, I don't believe it was discrimination. No, I don't believe they were unfair to Jacob because the posters are marketing. That's not part of it. Then why was I upset about the Channing Tatum thing? Because that was misrepresenting the movie to the audience. That was kind of a bit of a different issue. Anyway, that's just my thought on that. All right, guys, I got 2 more questions I'm going to do. Then I'm going to take your live Twitter questions. For those of you who weren't around at the beginning of the show, I'm taking your questions via Twitter today. Just tweet me your question at John Campea on Twitter. Just start your tweet with at John Campea and then write out your question, and we'll see how many of those I can get to. All right, the next question today comes to us, and I like this question, comes to us from Eddie Burton. And Eddie Burton writes, would you be comfortable in comparing actor Steve Carell to Tom Hanks at this point? Not in terms of acting ability, but in terms of success in transitioning from one genre to another. Tom Hanks was seen as a comedy star back in the 80s till he made his transition into drama, and is now seen as one of the greatest actors ever. With Steve Carell focusing on projects to challenge him, would you say he's made an equally successful transition? Thanks a lot for the question, man. And yeah, Tom Hanks is just like one of the best. I mean, one of the best ever of all time. He's great. One of the few guys, if not like the only guy, I'd have to double check this. Tom Hanks is one of the very, 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 very few, if I don't even know if anybody else has done it, that he actually won Best Lead Actor at the Academy Awards back to back. One year and the next. I don't know if that's ever happened again before with a lead actor. If it has, it's only ever happened once or twice other times. He pulled off something that's unheard of. And then it's just kind of assumed now when Tom Hanks is in a movie, he'll probably be nominated for Academy Award. Anyway, Steve Carell has followed a very similar path. Known as the comedy guy, suddenly he starts popping up in movies like Little Miss Sunshine. And then, of course, Foxcatcher and other movies like that. Now he's in Battle of the Sexes, where he gets to play drama and his comedy, which is why he's so great in Battle of the Sexes. So he's following a similar path, transitioning that from not just being known as a comedy guy to now being a very well-respected guy in the dramatic area as well. But the question is, let me pull up your exact wording one more time here. Your exact wording was, would you say he's made an equally successful transition? I will say similar. I would not say equally. Once again, you're talking about a guy who is considered one of the greats. Probably a lot of people would make an argument that Tom Hanks may be one of the 10 best of all time. There's an argument there to be made for that. He's definitely one of the best of our generation. And like I said, back-to-back Academy Award winner for Best Lead Actor. 2 of them. And a couple other times he could have won as well, on top of that. So can you with a straight face say equally as successful? Well, obviously the resumes say no. One resume is still much stronger than the other. Has he made a similar transition? Yes. Has he made a successful transition? Yes. Could Steve Carell still reach that level that Tom Hanks is on? Yeah. Steve Carell is still a relatively young man. I mean, it's not like he's in his 70s at this point. He's still a relatively young guy. Movies, he's kind of like Emma Stone in the sense that he just seems to be getting better and better because he's so good in Battle of the Sexes. Guys, go see Battle of the Sexes. It's not my number 1 movie of the year or anything like that, but it's a really, really good movie with 2 outstanding performances with Emma Stone and Steve Carell. Go check that out. At any rate, could he get to that level? Yeah, he could get there. But at this point, no, I'm not comfortable saying that Steve Carell has had an equally successful transition as a guy with multiple Oscars on his mantle, one of the only guys ever in history to win it back-to-back, who is considered by some to be in the top 10 greatest performers of all time. The resumes just don't equal up. Could he get there? It's possible. I just don't think he's there yet. All right, we move on now to the final email question of the day before I go and start taking some of your Twitter questions. And the first one today comes to us from Joshua Rodriguez. And Joshua Rodriguez writes, with all the news of Jesse Eisenberg's Luther, as well as Clemens' Iris West, and others being cut from the film, should we expect the home release of Justice League to have an extended edition, just like Batman vs. Superman? Wonder Woman didn't come out with one, but Justice League is still Snyder's film. Well, actually, no, it's not. Anyway, and the director loves his extended cuts. What are your thoughts? Would you like to see an extended home release with these characters put back in? Oh, thanks a lot for the question, man. And look, let's make something really clear here. We don't know anything definitively as far as, is Luther in the film? If he's not, was he ever in the film? Is Iris West in the film? If not, was she ever in the film? Darkseid, will he be in the film? Reports are that he won't, but was he ever really going to be in the film? I don't really know. There's a lot of talk and speculation out there. And so basically the question that comes up to a lot is like, dear heavens, like every time we hear about the Iris West, and we hear about Darkseid, then we hear about Lex Luthor, and people saying, holy crap, Joss Whedon is really cutting out a lot of Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm not comfortable saying that because, like I said, I'm hearing all these rumors. Yes, I'm hearing all these rumors, and I'm not trashing on the rumors at all. I'm just saying that as a fan and as an audience member, I'm listening, I'm hearing all these rumors, and that's fine. I'm just saying I don't see anything definitive yet that tells me, number one, that Jesse Eisenberg was factually 100% in this movie before. Number two, I'm not hearing anything that 100% factually Jesse Eisenberg is not in the movie anymore. Or the same thing with Iris West, or what all that has to do. So I want us to be just cautious about jumping to any conclusions about, holy crap, like Joss Whedon is completely remaking Zack Snyder's Justice League. He's completely redoing. He's cutting out this character. He's cutting out that character, changing this story, adding this, adding. Well, if every single rumor is true, but I don't believe for a second that every single rumor is true. It could be, might be, sure. But where I'm at right now as a fan is I haven't seen or heard anything definitive that would lead me to believe that. I haven't heard or seen anything, so I can't say that. Now, maybe you have, and you think something different, and that's totally cool. That's fine, and that's fair. But where I'm at, I'm not really sure. Now, let's move on. Let's then jump into the hypothetical. Okay, let's say hypothetically that Jesse Eisenberg was Lex Luthor, had a role in this film, and Joss Whedon cut him out. That Iris West was in this film, had a role, Joss Whedon cut him out. Darkseid had a big role in this film, or at some point in this film, Joss Whedon decided to cut it out. Okay, let's take a hypothetical and say, okay, well, if that was all true, and I have my doubts that it is, but if that were true, would I want a home version release when the video comes out of an extended cut having all that stuff put back in? My answer to that is absolutely unequivocally no. No, I don't. And to just add a couple of things, regardless of whether you're a big Zack Snyder fan, I am, whether you're not, because, I'll always be grateful to him for making Man of Steel and 300 and a lot of the other films that he's done. Whether you're somebody who hates Zack Snyder, it is not Zack Snyder's film anymore. As far as who is in control of this film right now, Zack Snyder is completely detached from Justice League. He's completely detached from it. He's not involved anymore. When the movie comes out, a lot of what you see on screen will be Zack Snyder's work. But as far as he's still involved, no. I mean, he's off making short films now, like Snow, Steam, Iron. By the way, if you have not seen Snow, Steam, Iron, or Steam, Snow, Iron, anyway, if you've not seen that short film by Zack Snyder, I suggest you do. Beautiful example of his ability of visual filmmaking. Check it out. You can find it on YouTube. Anyway, he just put that out. But also, it's not up to the directors, no matter who the director is. It's not up to the directors if there's a director's cut on the DVD. That is the studio's decision. The director may want it, but the director don't have a say. He can express his opinion, and maybe the studio will listen to him, but that is the studio's decision as to whether or not they want to put that on there. But even beyond that, I wouldn't want it, because if all those things are true, which I doubt they are, but if they were all true, then my assumption is going to be that Whedon and the executives at Warner Brothers cut those scenes out to make a better film. It doesn't sound to me like they were cutting out scenes to shorten the film, because, sometimes a director's cut will come in at 3 hours and 20 minutes. Okay, studio's not going to live for that. You got to shorten it up and you got to cut stuff out, then put that stuff back in a home release. But if you're cutting things out of a movie because this no longer works, because we're doing this now, this no longer works, we need to take this out. Or because I didn't think this worked in the first place, so we're going to take it out. If they're cutting things out of the movie because they believe it's what makes the better movie to take them out, then don't put them back in for an extended cut. put them back in for an extended cut if you made cuts just to shorten the film. But if you're cutting things out of the movie for sake of quality, then I don't want them back in another version of the film, Blu-ray, DVD, whatever the case may be. All right, guys, I am now going to try going to the live Twitter. I'm trying this out today. Instead of taking it from the chat board, I'm trying now taking these things from the actual Twitter stream here, which is kind of fun. So let's go on to this. Let's see. We'll go to the first question here. And this first one, I'm going to even bring it up. Look, you guys can even see the tweets now. Austin Mame is writing, hey, John, Ingrid Goes West barely got any attention of these prominent movie news channels reviewers. Any reason for that? Thanks. Ingrid Goes West didn't get a lot of attention for a couple of reasons. One, it didn't do a lot of marketing. There was very little marketing for the movie. There was some trailers and some stuff, so it wasn't on a lot of people's radars. Number two, it didn't get a huge wide release. Number three, and this is a tricky part. This is an odd balancing act sometimes. To do a review of a movie, particularly on YouTube, there's not a lot of benefit. And this is a conundrum we face as YouTube film reviewers. There's a conundrum we face that there's not a lot of benefit for doing a movie review for a movie that not many people are interested in. Because let's say there's some movie called Uki Pala, and it's about this rubber coaster. And this rubber coaster comes to life. His name's Uki Pala. Okay. And it's going to play in 100 theaters. I had a little bit of marketing, but nobody's going to go see it. I could make a review for it, but then I got to decide how I'm going to use my time. Do I make a review for this that a lot of people aren't interested in, probably won't watch my review in the first place? Or do I make it about Battle of the Sexes, which more people are seeing, and I have a better chance of getting more views on that? So there's a little bit of a conundrum with that too, but that's mostly it. I think it's mostly because there wasn't a lot of marketing. It wasn't put on a lot of people's radars. As far as I know, I wasn't aware of any press screenings. I was not aware of any. Maybe there were, but I didn't have any press screenings come across my inbox. So there's no press screenings for it. Not a lot of people aware of it. It wasn't a huge wide release. So that's probably why you didn't see a lot of people talking about it, because it just kind of flew under the radar. That happens sometimes. Let's see. This next one comes from Ackley19. Hey, John, how would you compare this summer movie season to last summer? Ooh. I think last summer's movie season, by the time the summer was ended, there weren't, take huge blockbusters out of it. I thought there were a lot of really good movies last summer. I thought last summer was an underrated summer for movies. Yes, some of the big blockbusters ended up being a bit of a disappointment, but overall, I thought it was a solid summer. I think this summer's been terrific. I've enjoyed an awful lot of summer. So for me, myself, I would probably put it on par. I would say they're on par. Okay, let's go to the next Twitter question. And this Twitter question comes from the Nerd117. With horror movies doing really well this year, what subject / monster / scare would you like to see tackled in the near future? Well, it's difficult to say because a lot of the great horror films lately, like whether it's Lights Out, whether it's Don't Breathe, whether it's Get Out, whether it's It, like the It was based on a novel, but those other three things are like all based on original, fresh ideas. And that's kind of what Split, is another one. And I think, Split's pseudo horror. Anyway, because those are all just fresh, original ideas, I kind of want to see that trend continue. I want to see what new, fresh, original ideas these horror filmmakers come up with and give us. I think that's actually really cool the way that's happening right now. Let's see. The next Twitter question comes to us is about Punisher. And the next one comes to us from Spencer112358. And Spencer112358 says, do you think Netflix will release Punisher without an official announcement? It would be an interesting experiment in marketing. Yeah, we know Punisher's coming soon. They're dropping trailers for it left, right, and center. And yet there's no announced release date yet. I honestly think, and I could be dead wrong about this. I could be completely wrong about this. And that's fine if I am. I honestly think they just haven't decided yet. I think they know they're going to release it soon. I think they just haven't decided yet. But your suggestion, Could they just all of a sudden, quietly in the middle of the night some night, boop, there, Punisher's online now, and just like catch everybody off guard? It would be interesting. It would be an interesting experiment. I mean, we've seen like Beyonce, and I think Taylor Swift recently, like, and Jay-Z might have done it too. Like, just, oh, by the way, boom, here's a new album. Like, nobody knew it was coming. Here's a new album, just dropped. It's available right now. So maybe they could be trying something like that. I doubt they are, but it's totally possible. I do believe within the next week or two, we'll probably get an announcement for a release date, and it'll be really soon. But, I mean, this idea, not the craziest idea in the world. I have heard crazier, believe you me. Let's see. Let's try this one here about the show. This one comes to us from Movie Guy Sci-Fi. John, will you ever be having guests or co-hosts joining your show? Freddie Prinze Jr., screw Sam Witwer. John Schnepp, I love Sam Witwer. I give Sam Witwer a hard time, but he's a great guy. I don't know because it's difficult. John Schnepp, for example, buddy of mine, he works for another company. A company that requires you to get permission to be a guest on another show. Not to mention that when I'm making my show, John Schnepp or a lot of my former colleagues, they're busy doing their jobs. Their jobs that they're getting paid to do on another network. So that makes it incredibly limiting. That even if I wanted to have them on the show, that would be very, very difficult. Because like when I'm recording my show, my former colleagues are busy at work doing their work for their jobs. So that's tricky. Also, I don't have a studio now. My studio is a spare bedroom in my place, man. So I would have to have somebody come over, be here. I mean, I'm going to experiment with a few things. I will tell you this though. This Tuesday on Star Wars Talk Tuesday, for those of you who followed me for any period of time, you'll recognize the name Rodney Brazeau. Rodney used to be one of my writers way back in the day when I was at the movie blog. And then he actually took over the movie blog once I sold it and left. He is also, I don't know anybody. All due respect to Christian Harloff too, by the way. I do not know anybody in the world not named Pablo Hidalgo who knows Star Wars canon and extended universe and legend stuff more than Rodney Brazeau. And he's a lifelong friend of mine going back. He's up in Canada, but Rodney Brazeau will be joining me on Star Wars Talk Tuesday this Tuesday. So this is going to be my first time that since I relaunched the channel, that I'm going to have a guest on the show with me other than like my Game of Thrones stuff. So I am excited about that. Rodney Brazeau is going to be joining me. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, let's try this next one. And this next one comes to us from Jay Connolly 2003 writes, "Hey John, do you think Transformers 6 will do well with Bay gone, or have characters like Optimus Prime and Bumblebee gone stale?" I know Optimus Prime never goes stale. He's Optimus frickin' Prime. So no, he does not go stale. But they may have run this franchise into the ground. Like, look, I'm actually very curious about this Bumblebee movie coming, because you got the director from Kubo and the Two Strings, which I think is pretty damn interesting, directing. So I'm very interested, but it might be a case of too little too late. You cannot overemphasize what a bag of crap this last Transformers movie was, or the previous 3 or 4 of them have been. I love the first Transformers movie. I'll always defend that first Transformers movie. I love it. But all of them since have been rubbish, and this last one is the worst. This is one of the most incoherent messes of a film I've seen in ages. Horrible movie. And you see it reflected in their box office dropped by like 40% from the previous one. That's not a trajectory the studios like to see. Honestly, I think they should have ditched. I think they should have abandoned it, and I think they should have rebooted in 2 or 3 years. So how will Transformers 6 do? At this point, I don't know. I don't know how much faith the general audience still has. I really don't know how much faith the general audience still has. Let's see. Let's do this one here. And this one, I'm loving it. By the way, guys, let me know in the comment section, what do you think about this Twitter setup? I'm having a lot of fun with this Twitter setup. I love actually being able to put your tweets on screen. Anyway, Austin Main is writing, "John, chances that Rey is the daughter of Leia, but Han isn't the father." Nah, nil. I'll go nil. there's too much connection that, no, I still am of completely the belief that Rey's parents are going to be inconsequential. I believe the reasons that she was left on Jakku are going to be important, but I think who her parents are is going to be nobody of consequence. I really still believe that. It's possible could end up being Luke's daughter or Leia's daughter or whatever. I just don't see it happening. I just don't think that's the case. So no, I don't think that's the case. But hey, anything is possible. All right, let's take a couple more. Let's do this. Okay, about Matthew Vaughn. Nigel Foote writes, John, have you heard anything about the rumor that Matthew Vaughn may be directing the Fantastic Four reboot, Stay Awesome? I have, well, I mean, we all know that Matthew Vaughn, he was supposed to direct, X-Men The Last Stand. He was supposed to direct X-Men 3. And then he kind of ditched last second. I also believe he was supposed to direct the first Thor movie and then ditched on that. Matthew Vaughn, as much as I love him, he's got a bit of a reputation for ditching on projects that he agrees to do. I love Matthew Vaughn. I do not care for the new Kingsman movie. It's going to do great at the box office, but I don't care for it all that much. I haven't really heard that rumor. Although, again, I'm always hearing rumors that Fox wants to work with him. He was connected to do a Fox movie before. He has done much stuff with Fox. Fox trusts Matthew Vaughn, obviously. So, hey, look, anything's possible. It's completely possible. I just don't know that Matthew Vaughn would want to do it at this point. Would he? Or would he just do it out of loyalty to Fox? I don't know. It's totally possible. Okay, let's take just a couple more. Let's see. Here we go. About the It director here. Diego MV 2602 writes, Hey, John, It director Andy Muschietti talked about being interested in making a Pet Sematary remake. Thoughts? Yeah, well, remember, lots of directors are interested in directing hundreds of things. Hundreds of things. Would I be down for an Andy Muschietti directed Pet Sematary remake? Sure, I'd be down. I could also think of 20 other directors that I think would be good for it, so that's fine. But no, if that movie got announced tomorrow and they actually did, yeah, I'd be down for it. Let's see. Let's go on to this one here. And this one comes from Chito14, who writes, Hey, John, what current franchise would you like to see the Nolans take on? Mine is Assassin's Creed. Well, yeah, of course you got Christopher Nolan. A lot of people overlook his brother, Jonathan Nolan, who's one of the preeminent writers right now in Hollywood, is Jonathan Nolan. I don't know that the Nolans are at all interested in taking over any franchises, to be honest with you. Would I like to see them do Assassin's Creed? You've got to give Assassin's Creed a few years to let the stink wear off. That movie was garbage. That and for 2 years, I was like, Assassin's Creed is going to be the movie. That and Warcraft are going to be the two movies that usher in a golden age of video game movies. And then Assassin's Creed just totally crapped the bed. I liked Warcraft, but it was even for somebody like me who liked the movie, even I will say, it ain't the movie that's going to crack open the floodgates and usher in a golden age of video game movies coming in. It ain't the movie that's going to do it. Okay, look, again, if they announced tomorrow that Christopher and Jonathan Nolan were doing Assassin's Creed, of course I would be thrilled. Wouldn't be my first choice for what I'd like to see them do, and I don't think it's something they'd be interested in because they seem more locked into doing their own original stuff. Anyway, guys, that will do it for now. Let me know what you guys think about the live Twitter thing. I had a lot of fun. I love new toys. I had a lot of fun with the live Twitter thing. And did you notice how much faster and easier I was able to pick out new questions? Because I keep this like organized board in front of me without it going by at a million miles an hour. Anyway, but maybe it didn't come across well for you guys, the audience. Let me know what you guys think about the live Twitter thing in the chat board below. Quick reminder, guys, today is the last day that the John Campea podcast will be called the John Campea podcast. Starting tomorrow, that's Monday, the show I'm going to try for a week or two. Just going to try it. I might move it again. Remember, I said for the first 4 or 5 months that I'm doing my channel, I'm going to play with where I think the best time is for the John Campea podcast. But starting tomorrow, it's going to be called the John Campea Show, and it's going to go live at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's, 10, 11, 12. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm going to try it at 10 a.m. and that's when I'm going to go live with it. But for most of you guys, 90% of you don't watch it live anyway. You just watch it when you come to my channel to watch it, and that won't affect you at all. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for being here. Make sure you take a second, click on that subscribe button, become a subscriber of mine. Also, because you heard me read a couple questions from my Patreon supporters. Our Patreon supporters get audio-only editions, audio-only installments, podcasts of the John Campea Show and of Star Wars Talk Tuesday. So if you want to listen to it at work, whatever. We also have exclusive podcasts that are just for our Patreon supporters. We have exclusive Facebook groups. We do live chats. Check out my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/John Campea. See if you want to become a Patreon supporter and be one of the people that makes these shows possible. And if you don't, that's totally fine. I'm just glad you're here being a part of the show. So that'll do it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.